Hey everybody, what's going on? Jake Blickenstaff here with you guys tonight, and I am very excited. We are about to have a badass call talking about Bitcoin mining. And if you guys saw any of my posts, any of the other posts that led you here, stay tuned till the very end because I guarantee you're going to get your values weight in gold. If you're not already in BitClub Network, or if you're not already in Bitcoin mining opportunity, and this is information that you can take across the board to anywhere. So if you're new to the scene and you're starting to look into Bitcoin or you're starting to look into mining, this is really going to give you the opportunity to have the information that you need to make a smart decision going forward. That's what we always try to do. We try to give you enough value so that way you can take it even if you're involved in another business. And then you might be able to even reevaluate that business. Maybe it's right for you. Maybe it's a perfect fit. Maybe it's not a good fit. And maybe there's something else better out there. But that's for you to decide. We're just here to give you information. So I'm actually going to bring my business partner out, Sean Lynch. This guy is like a savant when it comes to Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. I mean, if you've ever seen Rain Man, how he can speed read through an entire book, that's basically what Sean Lynch does with Bitcoin. So without any further ado, buddy, go ahead and come on out, man, and let's give them a good show.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake. Thanks for that introduction. All right, guys, I'm no expert. There's no such thing as a Bitcoin expert right now. It's so new. But listen, why should you be listening to me? Since December 2016, I've done nothing but commit 20 to 30 hours per week on learning about Bitcoin, learning about how it's mined, and following what's going on around the globe. And just want to show you some references here. So look, I've got books, Mastering Bitcoin. I've read through this book twice, and I want to show you a few websites just so that you can know a bit about my background and why you should even pay attention to what I have to say. So there's no real big experts in Bitcoin right now, but there are a few that have been around since 2009. And Andreas Antonopoulos is one of them. So if you're on this webinar and you're taking notes, people that you want to be following on their YouTube channels, on their blogs, their books, Andreas Antonopoulos is definitely one of them. A serial entrepreneur that's been around since the beginning of Bitcoin. He's the author of 2 books, and he does a lot of, he just visits different areas, different countries in the world, and he does a lot of live webinars about Bitcoin and to educate people about what it is that's coming. Another person that I follow is Roger Ver. He's a venture capitalist. He's got a lot invested into Bitcoin. He's been in it since the beginning, pretty much, and he's done a lot for Bitcoin and its growth with his venture capital and his promotion. So another great person to follow since the beginning. And then, of course, there's a whole bunch of YouTube channels that I'm subscribed to. You don't need to go to school to learn about Bitcoin. No one's talking about it, really. It's just kind of becoming mainstream now. So there's definitely those channels that you can kind of educate yourself from. And then, so this is what I've been doing for the last 10 months, I'd say. And so this knowledge I'm going to give to you tonight on this call. Let me just stop here. Now, I've got a lot of personal experience with Bitcoin. I've tried all the software wallets. I've spent it. I've received it as payment. I've got hardware wallets. I know how to secure it. So really, when it comes to where do you get Bitcoin, how do you secure it, how do you send it, how do you receive it, I've got all that here. So we're going to try to share that information with you in about 1 hour. Now, it's a lot of information. I can't go over everything in a 1 hour call, but hopefully after tonight, you guys will pique your interest, that you'll do your own research and you'll start following the big names in this industry so you can start educating yourself and benefit from what's coming. So let's get started here. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Bitcoin and an opportunity to get some more through what we call mining. So I'm going to show you a little presentation here. So Bitcoin is mined, and the company, the opportunity to get more of this Bitcoin is through BitClub Network. So this is the business we're going to present to you tonight on this call. And during this presentation, you're going to learn what Bitcoin is and where it comes from and how you can get some more of it through the process of mining it. The BitClub Network is basically a crowd-funded mining pool. What does that mean? It's not owned by a single person. It's owned by a team of people, experts, entrepreneurs, professionals, network marketers, and programming geeks who've all come together to launch a very simple business around a very complex industry. Bitcoin mining is complex. Not everybody can do it. You need to be a programmer. You need to factor in your electricity costs, your hardware costs. So it's not for everybody. But if you put all the right people together, it works. Anyone can join BitClub Network and begin earning passive income by taking advantage of our expertise in Bitcoin mining and other Bitcoin-related services. Now, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a way for you to send currency. It's decentralized, and it's not controlled by a government or an institution. Bitcoin is sent using the internet directly from person to person with no bank or intermediary. Bitcoin is fast, it's safe, and anonymous way to send money. Anyone in the world can set up a Bitcoin account. There's no qualifications. You don't have to show your driver's license. You don't have to show your birth certificate. You can't be rejected by a bank or a corporation. There's no fees, barely. There's no chargebacks, and there's no borders. So I want to show you some stats to back these claims up here. What is this? Sorry guys, just gonna get back to my desktop. So here's a chart that I pulled from Business Insider a few years back. I think this dates from 2012, so it's a little outdated, but it's just to give you a representation that around the globe, there are more people that have access to mobile subscriptions, cell phones, and internet access than they do safe drinking water, bank accounts, credit cards. So there's about 2.5 billion people on the planet that are unbankable. They don't have ID or they just refused bank accounts. So these people cannot take trade and part in a global economy. With Bitcoin, anyone can open up a Bitcoin wallet. It's free. All you need is access to a smartphone and an internet connection. And from this chart, we see that more people around the world have access to a mobile subscription than they do drinking water. So something like Bitcoin is going to change a lot of people's lives in areas that you probably aren't from. If you're in a first world country, you might not be aware of what's going on in other countries. But the more you start looking into Bitcoin and the more that you start looking into how flawed our fractional reserve banking is, you'll start to see that this opportunity is tremendous for a lot of people around the world. Next, I want to show you the venture capital that's been put into Bitcoin since 2009. This is from CoinDesk. So a website that you guys can get informed. You go to coindesk.com, sign up to their email list, and start reading the news. If you want daily news on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and what's going on around the world and other countries, stop looking at your mainstream news, turn off your TV, and start reading some news that matters, and come over to CoinDesk. And you're going to stay up to date with what's going on. And from CoinDesk, they actually keep track of all the venture capital that's been raised since 2009 into infrastructure, into wallets, into startup companies all around Bitcoin. There's more and more investors coming into this scene, and there's a lot of programmers, a lot of smart people looking to get Bitcoin to succeed and adopt it. So according to these numbers here, we're looking at $1.9 billion since 2012 that's been raised in venture capital. And this is people with VC, companies that you might recognize. JP Morgan's in here somewhere. These are all the names of the investors here, so you can actually have a read who's putting in all the big bucks. So this is all transparent, guys. You can all read this here. Next. So who uses Bitcoin? A lot of people accept Bitcoin. So if you haven't been paying attention, you can actually spend your Bitcoin on many websites: Dell, Subway, Tiger Direct, Amazon, through a website called Purse.io. My son buys Steam games here on his computer. You can buy video games off Steam. So there's a lot of businesses that are accepting Bitcoin, or a lot of people that are selling their services for Bitcoin because they want to be part of that economy. And why are they accepting Bitcoin? Because there's no refunds, there's no chargebacks, so it's lower fees. So people will actually give you a discount to use Bitcoin. And we've covered this already. So Bitcoin is, for the first time in history of the world, where you can now send money or receive any amount of money to anyone, anywhere, instantly, almost for free, and it's impossible for governments to stop them. So no one can say, no, you're not going to send these funds. Unlike people like Western Union, PayPal, they'll prevent you from sending money to certain people if they don't like who you're sending money to, if they're certain causes and stuff. So you don't have to worry about that, and there's no remittance either. The first Bitcoin transaction occurred in May 22nd, 2010. 2 Papa John pizzas were purchased for 10,000 Bitcoin, which was roughly $25 back then. If you look at the price of Bitcoin today, we're sitting at $4,300. So that 10,000 Bitcoin would be worth $43 million today. And for those wondering if this is true or not, yes, it is. Here's the forum where this seller was looking to buy a pizza. So it's an actual link here. It's a Bitcoin forum. And on May 18th, 2010, he actually posted publicly on this forum that he was offering 10,000 Bitcoins for a couple pizzas. He just wanted someone to deliver the pizza and he'll exchange Bitcoin. And that's pretty much the first recorded transaction since the inception of Bitcoin, which is kind of neat.
Hey, Sean, let me tag in here real quick for a second.
Yeah, sure.
So you were talking about the ability to be able to use Bitcoin and where you can do it. Some of the other resources that you have or that are available right now are exactly like what this is. So this is, and I don't know if you're going to cover this, bro, but I'm just going to talk about it since I had this in my hand. It's a BitPay card. Now, there are going to be some new regulations coming out with the way that Bitcoin debit cards work. As of October 15th, anybody that's outside of the EU, if your card is issued by an EU bank and you're outside of the EU, then more than likely you're going to have to find an alternative means. And there are some different options out there for people, but if you're inside the United States, I've already spoken to support with BitPay, and they said that there's absolutely no issues with the BitPay card. It's going to continue running as service. So pretty much the way that this works is, like Sean was talking about, you have a Bitcoin wallet and you can simply just transfer your Bitcoin, and you're pretty much preloading your BitPay card. And then at that point, this is a Visa card, so anywhere that Visa is accepted, once you transfer Bitcoin into your funds that are available on that card, you can spend it anywhere just as easily as you can your debit card. So one of the questions that anybody that's involved with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is, how easily can I convert it back to cash, or, how easily can I actually spend it? It's this digital currency, but where can I spend it? Within 5 minutes, I can spend any amount of Bitcoin that I have. And that's really powerful, because if you think about it, how many news stories and different things that you heard on the news about somebody trying to take some of their or all of their funds overseas? You literally can't do it. There's laws, all sorts of places where if you're traveling with more than like $5,000 or $10,000 in cash, you're probably going to get arrested because they think that you're drug trafficking. Well, the beautiful part about Bitcoin, it doesn't matter if you have 5 cents or $500 million on, a cold storage drive that stores Bitcoin or in your digital wallet. You can take that overseas, and at any point in time, you can just transfer a little bit over, be able to live on it, buy lunch, buy some fuel, pay for your hotel room, whatever you want to do, anywhere that Visa is accepted. So this is an absolutely phenomenal resource, especially moving into the future, when not only are more people and more businesses going to start accepting Bitcoin, but being able to travel all over the world and still be able to use your Bitcoin on a daily basis. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, buddy.
Thanks for that, buddy. Yeah, so it is spendable. And so how do you get more of it? So people are accepting it. There's a demand increasing, and we see a price going up. So those who've been following the price, okay, so why was it only worth a couple of dollars 6 years ago, and now it's worth 4,300 US? Like, what's causing the price of Bitcoin to go up? And the reason is because there's a limited supply. Unlike our fiat currency, our US dollars, which have devalued year after year after year. If you look at how much a loaf of bread cost 50 years ago compared to what your dollar can spend on a loaf of bread, you'll see that your dollar can't even afford a loaf of bread with a dollar anymore. And that's not because goods and services go up necessarily. It's because the dollar is worth less. You need more of it to buy the same goods and services. And that's because of the fractional reserve banking and the printing of money and just the way it's set up. So what's great about Bitcoin is when people start looking at the economics around Bitcoin, then they start looking at economics in the real world and how it's set up right now with fractional reserve banking. And you'll see that it's flawed. And that's why economies crash, and that's why dollars get super hyperinflated. Like in Zimbabwe, I think they have $100 trillion bill, if I'm not mistaken. You can Google that. It actually exists. I saw that. I wasn't aware of it before this year because I wasn't paying attention, but they do have $100 trillion bill, I believe. And it's worthless, all right? You have a wagon full of their money, and people will take the wagon because it's worth more than the money that it's carrying. So with Bitcoin, we can actually get some right now, because how it works is Bitcoin is kept up to date by a decentralized ledger. So why Bitcoin works and why is it that people can send and receive Bitcoin to each other without going through a third party like a bank or Western Union or PayPal, is because the ledgers, which we call a blockchain, is basically updated on multiple nodes on the network. So multiple computers that are taking part, that have the Bitcoin software installed, they're keeping track of everyone's balances automatically. So you don't need a human to keep track of everyone's ledgers. It's all built into the code. It's open sourced. So you don't need to be a programmer and really dig deep. You can, it's interesting, but you don't need to, it just works, right? It's like the internet. You get on the internet, or your car, you just get in and you drive it. I think Jake made that analogy. I loved it. You don't need to know how your engine works. You just know it works. You get in and you drive. So Bitcoin, you might do a little bit of research because it's new and it's interesting, like I have. But once you start looking behind the technology, it works. It's proven. It's safe. So now people can send and receive value on the internet without going through a third party, and that's what makes it interesting. Now, with the value going up is because the supply is limited. So there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin ever produced, and the way it's been introduced into the economy is through mining. So that's what we're going to cover right now. So every 10 minutes, there's new Bitcoin that are released to miners as a reward. And so what do I mean by that? The nodes that we mentioned that are keeping track of these ledgers, well, they're not free to run. People have to buy computers. They have to buy hardware. They've got to keep their computers running, so that costs electricity. The hardware needs to be cooled, so that might cause you to pay for some AC. So there's costs in creating a Bitcoin. So there's an incentive in the network for people to do this. If there wasn't an incentive, no one would have done it, right? From day one, when there's no Bitcoin in circulation. So the very few beginning participants, which were probably techies and people, it was like a social experiment, right? So they kind of participated, sent transactions between each other, and verified their own transactions. And then Bitcoin got introduced into the network, and they started collecting it until that first pizza was bought. And then it just gets bigger and bigger from there as more and more people get involved. And the ecosystem builds itself out. And then people like venture capitalists see the potential, so they put big money in to start giving you access to companies where you can actually get Bitcoin, right? So that's where we're seeing these big exchanges pop up and these ATM networks all over the place now, which we might have time to cover on this call. So now that the money's coming in and the innovation's coming in, programmers and smart people with bright minds, there's so much room for innovation here. I mean, governments and regulations might slow innovation down. I saw a video about when cars got developed way back then, way back in the beginning. People were in power, people with the horses and the carriages, they were afraid of the automobile because they knew that they would run them out of business. So the people in power would do everything that they could so that the automobile wouldn't succeed, like passing laws, like you can't drive more than 4 miles per hour, or your car needs to be manned by 3 people. You need the driver, you need someone on the car to monitor, and you need someone in front of the car walking with a flag to make sure that people in the front don't get run over by the car. So you know what I mean? Like these ridiculous regulations and laws, which lowers, stunts innovation for a bit, but then eventually you get over those hurdles. So Bitcoin is going through that right now. You're going to see a lot of ups and downs in the value because things, so some bad news comes out and there's a regulation or something, people panic and they sell, and there's not enough, there's not enough money in Bitcoin right now for it to stay, so there's a big sell that causes a drop in price, right? So that's what you're going to see. So don't look at the volatility of Bitcoin. Just look at it long term. And once we go over all those hurdles, then the price will be really high because of the supply. The supply is limited. It's a deflationary currency. So there'll only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. And these Bitcoin are divisible into smaller pieces. So one Bitcoin is divisible into 8 decimal places. So there's plenty of Bitcoin to go around. By the time people start using Bitcoin as a user, well, we won't be dealing in one Bitcoin each. We'll be dealing in millibits of a Bitcoin. So if you start collecting some Bitcoin now, by the time it becomes mainstream and more adopted, then you're going to have quite an amount of wealth. Because as the demand goes up and the supply remains the same, the price has to go up. If there's one thing that we all learn in school around money is supply and demand, right? So most people are familiar with that concept. So how do we mine Bitcoin? Well, with the BitClub network, what I like about it is that it's very transparent. So these miners, these computers that require electricity, I'll show you what they look like. I'm not sharing screen. So in order to mine a Bitcoin, you need hardware. And this is the latest hardware on the market right now that's designed to mine Bitcoin. You could go out and buy a whole bunch of these, hook them up, learn how to program them, and start mining yourself. But I'm not an expert. You're probably not an expert. You probably don't have any programming experience. So mining Bitcoin on your own is probably off. It's not something that you'll ever do. So what BitClub Network does is it allows the small people to join a mining pool, and they purchase this equipment on your behalf to mine Bitcoin. And it's very transparent because everything that happens in Bitcoin is on a public ledger. We mentioned that earlier on the call. So you can come to a website like this called blockchain.info. And this is known as a block explorer. So you can actually see all the blocks, all the transactions, where Bitcoin is going. You don't see who it is, but you can see the wallets where Bitcoin is being sent and received. You can see everything is transparent on a blockchain. So they have charts here that you can look at when you're doing your research. So you can see what the market price was since the beginning of time. You can see the Bitcoins coming into circulation since the beginning of time. Since its inception back in 2009. So this is the steady flow of new Bitcoin coming into the ecosystem. And we're currently sitting at 16.6 million Bitcoin in circulation. And there'll only ever be 21 million. So other charts that are important to look at are the mining charts. So all those computers, all those nodes on the network that are helping to verify transactions and keeping these ledgers up to date. Well, if you're mining enough Bitcoin, you actually pull up in these charts. So a mining pool is basically a large warehouse filled with these devices here, which disappeared on me. So it's basically a large facility, a large warehouse with a bunch of these just lined up in racks. And then they're just doing one job. It's like a Visa center. If you think of Visa today, they process millions and millions of transactions every day, every time you swipe your card at a point of sale system. So those transactions have to be verified somewhere. So Visa, somewhere in the world, has a big data center. I don't know where it is, but the data center is processing these transactions. And every time that happens, Visa takes a cut from the merchant, 3%. So Visa's making millions of dollars every day just by you swiping your Visa card. Now with Bitcoin, who's verifying these transactions? It's the people that are participating in the network. So with BitClub Network, you're actually going to be part of the miners. So you're part of securing the blockchain. And so you're going to get the rewards because you're contributing to the computer power, the electricity, the cooling costs, the maintenance of these devices. So it's like being our own Visa company, if you will. So that's what's exciting about BitClub Network. And it's very transparent. So you can actually see that BitClub Network owns about 3.4% of the total hash rate, which I'll show you here. So when you come to blockchain.info and go to these charts, BitClub Network shows up here as 3.4% of all the transactions verified in the last 24 hours. So you can actually click on BitClub Network here, and you can see all the transactions that they're personally responsible for verifying. And this is all open to the public. You can click on these transactions, and you can see the reward that we received for being the ones that that contributed those transactions to the blockchain. So this block actually gave us a reward of 13.6 Bitcoin. On a side note, every block is worth 12.5 Bitcoin. plus the transaction fees. Because there's a slight fee to send Bitcoin on the network. It's just a couple cents to $1 right now. So it's not very expensive, unlike sending money through PayPal or Western Union. And all those transaction fees are accumulated in that block, and they go to the miners. And so it's very transparent. That's what I love about BitClub Network, is you can see where the new Bitcoin are coming from. So you know that the money that you will be making from BitClub Network every day doesn't come from like new investors. It's not. There's a lot of shady companies out there that'll promise you a set return. But where are those returns coming from? Is it coming from new investor money? Are they actually mining Bitcoin? It's hard to tell. But with BitClub Network, it's all transparent. So you can feel safe that, okay, these guys are mining Bitcoin. Here's the wallet that it's being deposited to. You can see the balances. So it's very transparent. And
hey, Sean, I want to touch on something quick.
Sure.
So when it comes to transparency, and this is kind of near and dear to my heart. Anybody that knows me, I call out scammers. I call out fake programs every day of the week. And the reason that I do this is because there's people out there that don't know any better. Steven, shut up. But you need to get educated before you can make a decision about something. And the reason that I say that is because whenever somebody says scam, normally it means that they don't understand something well enough. Now, I will say 100% there are a bunch of scams out there. But whenever it comes to Ponzi scheme or something like that, it usually means just like what Sean said. They're using new money to pay off old investors. Now, the reason that this is so far from that, just to clear up anybody's thinking, not that's on this call, but just in general, is because how can you possibly pay off old investors if you cut off new investors from coming in at all? So, Sean, you've been with BitClub probably about 6 to 7 months longer than I have. How many different times have you seen where the exponential growth within BitClub Network has actually gotten to a point where they're like, whoa, we literally can't buy as many machines as requested, so we need to put a halt on shares and new people coming in. Like, you can still come in and join the business, get activated, but I personally have seen them do it 2 or 3 times where like it's almost like a lottery. So and the main part about that is, with a business investment type program or anything else, how this is different is you're actually doing a value exchange. You're actually purchasing an asset, which is your mining hardware. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of that because I'm sure Sean's going to cover it here in a little bit. But at any point in time, if say you have a bad taste in your mouth, or say, you know what, I just want to do this on my own, that's fine. You've invested money into the business. At any point in time, you can say, hey, I want that money back. Or you can say, I want that mining hardware that I purchased. They'll cut off your earnings, and they will box up your mining hardware and send it to you. I mean, where else in the world can you do something like that? Because literally, when you get started with something like this and how transparent it is, I mean, you're literally buying a money printing machine. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. So, Sean, I'm going to turn it back over to you, buddy. I just want to interject with that real quick.
No, that's a great point. I mean, in terms of Ponzi schemes out there, taking new investor money to pay old ones, what I love about BitClub Network is that recently this year, they have put the brakes on new sales. They're like, we don't want new members, because if we bring in $50 million this month, what am I going to do with that $50 million? It's not like I can go to Bitmain and buy, $50 million worth of hardware today and get it set up and mining Bitcoin. So it's a real Bitcoin mining pool. So these guys have good connections with the biggest manufacturers of those ASIC miners. They buy in bulk. So it's not like if you went to the ASIC website right now and decided to buy miners, you'd probably be in line for about 6 months to a year, and you'll pay full price for these miners, and it's going to take you a long time to receive them. But when you're the size of BitClub Network, you can go to these manufacturers, buy in bulk, but there's a limit to how much you can buy. You can't just, there's a ceiling to how much you can buy. So recently, in the last couple of months, we've seen sales spike because people are now waking up to Bitcoin. They want to mine some, they want to start collecting some, so they're looking at mining hardware. And now the demand for the mining hardware is so high that it's hard to buy, like it's hard to get a hold of. And the manufacturers are mining Bitcoin themselves, so they don't even want to sell their hardware. They don't even want to sell the miners to us, because why not just hook it up themselves, since they produce them and mine Bitcoin themselves? So these are all things that you're going to see. Like once you create your account for free, you can actually log into the back office, read all the updates for the last year. I encourage everybody on this call to at least open up a free account and read all of the updates that Bit Club Network has shared with the members since 2014. And you're going to see how transparent they've been with the members since then, the growth of the pool in terms of how much computing power that they have, why they chose Iceland. I mean, I like to cover that on this call too. I mean, Iceland is where the mining pool is situated, and it's an ideal location to set up a mining pool, because if you want your mining pool to be profitable, so you have more Bitcoin to share with your members, well, you want to keep your electricity costs low. And Iceland has some of the lowest electricity costs on the planet. It's renewable, it's clean, so it's not like we're burning fossil fuels or anything like that. They've got a volcano, so they've got geothermal energy. They also got hydroelectric energy as well. It's cool naturally, so when you got these miners set up in racks, pulling in cold air on one side and spitting out hot air on the other, well, you don't need to run AC 24/7 to get that cool air, because Iceland is cold, right? So they can take cold air, they filter it through from the exterior, and they use that to cool the chips. So that keeps your operating costs low. They buy the miners in bulk. So just like anything in life, if you go to Costco and buy something in bulk, you're going to get it at a cheaper cost than if you just go to Bitmain and buy 2 or 3 miners and pay full cost. So everything is optimized to keep the operating costs low, so that all the Bitcoin that's mined every single day, every single month, well, then that can be dispersed to you as a member for purchasing a share in the pool. So your share actually contributes to equipment that's going to produce Bitcoin. And that's how we're going to accumulate more of this asset over the next couple of years. So it's very exciting. So all these updates, clearly very transparent. We don't need new members to pay off old members. We're producing Bitcoin every single day. So even if we shut our doors to sales, which we have, I mean, like Jake said, it's been a lottery. Like if you want to buy mining pool shares, sometimes they're just sold out. So you have to wait your turn until they have more available for you, because the demand is so high right now for those shares. One more website I want to share with you guys is the actual, it's called Bit Club Pool. So far, which websites have we covered on this call? CoinDesk. Subscribe to their email list, keep track of the news. Blockchain.info. So this is a blockchain explorer, so you can keep up to date with everything that's happening on the Bitcoin network. Useful for the charts here for transparency. Third website is bitclubpool.com. So this is Bit Club Network's website to keep track of the pool statistics. So you can actually look at their hash rates. And this is something that you'll see increase over time, because as more hardware is bought and installed and running, this will actually increase over time. So 3 years ago when the pool launched, it was at 40 terahash, and today it's at 352 petahash. And what's a petahash, you might say? Well, your laptop has a gigahash of CPU power. So a petahash is 1,000 times that. So 352 million laptops, if you will, in terms of computing power, is what a 352 petahash amounts to. And we expect to hit 500 by the end of this year. So when you check back to this website around November, December, you should see this around 500 petahash. And then by 2018, it should hit 700 petahash, because we've got some big orders coming in for new ASIC miners. That's going to increase the amount of hash rate for the pool, which means that we'll be able to mine more Bitcoin. Mining Bitcoin is kind of like a lottery, if you will. You're basically just guessing at an answer. We won't go behind the math, but what these computers are doing as proof of work to add those confirmations to the ledgers, the blockchain, is that part of the process is answering a math problem. And this type of math problem can only be solved by guessing the answer. It's not a trivial equation like what's 1 + 1 + 1. It's easy to find an output when you're given an input. But these types of equations, it's kind of like the reverse. If I give you an output and tell you the output is 3, and I ask you to tell me what the input is, well, there's a lot of different inputs that give the answer 3, like 1 + 1 + 1, or 5 - 2, or 2 + 1. So basically, these computers are just guessing away at an answer until they hit the right one for that particular equation. And so there's some luck involved. it's going to take a lot of guesses. So we can see that this latest block that Bitcoin BitClub Network received took 321 billion guesses to get the answer. So the more hash rate that you have, the more guesses you can do. So, the luckier you might get. So we're kind of like at a competition with other miners. So other miners in the world who are contributing their computers to the network, we're all trying to mine Bitcoin. So we're kind of competing against each other. And the more Bitcoin that we mine, obviously the more Bitcoin that's going to be shared amongst our pool. So that's what's exciting about Bitcoin. There's no ROI. So you can't come in here and say, you know what, are you going to guarantee me 10%, 20% a month? These ridiculous numbers that other companies are offering. There is no ROI, which is great. Another it's another great sign that BitClub Network is doing what they're saying they're doing. Any company that promises you a fixed return for an investment is most likely paying you off with new investor money. But with BitClub Network, there's no ROI. It's basically, hey guys, we're going to build a mining pool together. We're going to add the equipment. We're going to optimize it. Whatever Bitcoin that we mine in a month, we're going to share a piece of that with you based on how many shares you've bought in the pool. And that's it. This is money that's being printed out of thin air, if you will, because the computers these are new Bitcoin that are coming into circulation, and we can get our hands on some of them because we're part of securing the blockchain. Next.
Hey, brother, do you have that spreadsheet handy by chance, talking about a little bit more on the business side with regards to some of the different pools, and then what basically has been calculated off based on speculation?
I don't have that spreadsheet anymore. It's been taken down, unfortunately. I didn't save a copy. But up until now, I'll see if there's anyone on this call that has any questions, and then I'll talk about the opportunity. But in terms of Bitcoin and how it's mined, I know we've covered a lot of information in just 40 minutes time. So does anyone have any questions up until now? No? Okay, good. So pretty clear. All right, so we want to mine some Bitcoin. So what we're going to do at BitClub Network is we're going to purchase what's called a mining pool share. So mining pools, well, first of all, it costs $99 to join the club. So if you want to join BitClub Network, it'll be a one-time $99 membership. It gives you access to the back office. It gives you access to your marketing tools, your own personalized website, access to support, who run the support tickets. So once you pay that, you're covered for life. Next, if you want to mine Bitcoin, you have to purchase a share in, you have to purchase a share in one of their mining pools. This slide is a little bit out of date, so I'm going to make some corrections here. The amounts are correct. So $500 for a share in pool 1. They've got pool 2 for $1,000, pool 3 for $2,000, or all three for $3,500. Now, it mentions here that there's some repurchases. Now, in the beginning, which is another reason why I love BitClub Network, as someone who joined back in 2014 and say bought a pool for $2,000, you can't just say, hey, for $2,000, I'm going to pay you some new Bitcoin for life. Like, there's no end to your contract. There has to be a limit to how long you can pay, and there has to be a certain percentage of those new Bitcoin that you mine that you have to reinvest back into the pool, because a year from now, the technology is going to get more advanced. Over the years, these ASIC miners, if you will, have increased just like anything else. Just like your iPhone has gotten better year after year after year. Over the last 4 years, when you start researching like what an Antminer is, you'll see that in 2004, it was the S2 version. And then the year after was the S3. And the year after was the S5. Now today in 2017, we're at the S9. And the S9 is probably going to be hard to make more upgrades to this because the chips are really, really tiny. They're 16 nanometers. You can't really make them smaller than that. So probably going to be at this for a while. So in the beginning, people had to repurchase with their earnings. So they had what's called a forced repurchase. You can see here 50%, 40%, 30%, which means that every member was responsible for putting a bit of their earnings back into the business so that we can keep the upgrades coming, so the new hardware replaced. Today in 2017, they've actually lifted this restraint. So you can come into BitClub Network and you can withdraw 100% of your earnings every single day because A, there's no more advancements in the technology for a while, and B, the spike in sales right now is just huge. I mean, there's been more sales in the last 2 months than there have been in the last 3 years in this business. So they have more than enough money now to, keep the hardware upgraded. Eventually, if that slows down, then they'll just go back to a forced repurchase. All right, guys, if we're going to grow the business and keep growing the pool, well, we need everyone to chip in, 10, 15% at least, whatever it is you want. You get to choose your repurchase in the back office. So these are good business decisions that the company has made over the last couple of years. And that's how it's grown from 40 terahash to 350 petahash in just 3 years. It's the third largest mining pool on the planet right now, and we own all the hardware. There's a lot of mining pools out there that don't even own their own hardware. They just borrow the power, they just feed off. It's like resellers, if you will, for cable or internet in your hometown. We actually own our hardware. So with this hardware, not only can we mine Bitcoin right now, but we've got so much computing power that in the future, we can actually use that hardware for other stuff. Like in the latest update, they were talking about artificial intelligence or other companies that want to borrow our power for their computing for number crunching. So we can do a lot with this hardware. It's if eventually one day Bitcoin mining becomes a bit less profitable, there's other things we can do with this power, which is very exciting. So all you need to do is you buy a share, you wait 30 days. Why 30 days? Because if $1 million of sales come in today, the hardware doesn't just magically get purchased and installed and starts mining Bitcoin, right? This is an actual mining pool. So you purchase your shares, you get in line, they make a big order for the ASIC miners, they set them up, and then you start getting your share of the earnings. So it takes 30 days for you to start earning, and every single day you're gonna get a share in those new Bitcoin. And it's passive. So there's 2 ways to earn with this company. You basically just invest in the hardware, you let it pay you. We recommend that you compound those earnings for a while because that's the 8th wonder of the world. So you can take those earnings every day and take those earnings to purchase more shares in the business so you get a bigger payout down the line, or you can just start withdrawing. It's really up to you, right? It's your investment. And then of course there was the network marketing side of the business. So how did what's the goal? What's the vision of Bit Club Network? Why do we just want to mine Bitcoin for the next 10 years? No, we want to be the next Visa. We want to bring Bitcoin to the world. We want to use our huge distribution network, because Bit Club Network, that's what it is. It's just over 100,000 members right now, large, all over the world, people that are excited about Bitcoin, using Bitcoin, and we can use this network to deliver Bitcoin related services to the public. So one big project that's coming out in 2018 is how are we going to get businesses to adopt to Bitcoin? How are we going to get the mom and pop pizzeria down the street to accept Bitcoin from people? So we can use this distribution network to get a product to them and create another income stream for us. So I'll touch a little bit on that, but we won't cover too much on this call. But it's called CoinPay. It's an app or a program that you can present to a business, and if they accept Bitcoin payments through this app, well, we're going to get the transaction fees. If you go back to Visa, Visa swipes 3 to 5% every time a Visa card is swiped in the stores. Well, now if the merchant accepts Bitcoin, we're only going to charge them 1%. And those 1% transaction fees are going to go to Bit Club Network members because we're securing the blockchain. We're the one who's verifying those transactions. So it's very exciting. That's another project coming down the road. So the long-term vision of Bit Club Network is there. And we also mine different cryptocurrencies as well, which we won't have time to cover on this call. But Bitcoin, I'll just show you right here, guys. There's 1,000 cryptocurrencies right now for those who might not know. If you go to coinmarketcap.com, you'll see that Bitcoin is the #1 cryptocurrency right now with the biggest market cap, and everything else is just under it. And these coins, will they amount to anything? A lot of them is speculation, but they've got to outvalue. They've got to have an ecosystem. They've got to have value, and they've got to serve a purpose for it to be long term. So Bitcoin is #1 because it has that. It is the first cryptocurrency to exist. It's got the most venture capital. It's got the most people. It's got the most money. People want to see this succeed. So that's why you're going to see Bitcoin as #1 for a long time. So it's definitely a safe bet to start accumulating this asset. And as more and more people get on board, you're going to see the price start to go up once again because the supply is fixed. 16.6 million units right now in circulation. And we actually mine other cryptocurrencies here at Bit Club Network. So we use GPUs, just high-end graphics cards. We purchase them in bulk, just like we do these ASIC miners. You probably weren't aware these existed, but GPUs, anyone listening to this call knows what a GPU is because you have one in your home computer to play video games. Well, you can use those to mine other cryptocurrencies as well, and BitClub Network does that. And so you can choose to mine the cryptocurrency of your choice that we offer, like Ethereum, like Monero, and Zcash. So those are other opportunities that you can that you have here with BitClub Network. Jake, do you want me to step in, or should I go on to the team building side?
Yeah, actually, before you get into the team building side, I want everybody to like sit here and stretch and shake it out a little bit. I mean, I know that was a lot of information for everybody to absorb. And sometimes it can be a little dry, especially when you're first getting into this. You're like talking about algorithms and nodes and all sorts of other shit that's probably way over your head. I'm the very politically incorrect guy, if you guys haven't noticed that yet. But the reason this is so exciting for us is because, and I'm actually, Sean, going to have you share your screen again because I don't have my VPN on for me to log in. But the reason that this is so exciting for us, especially anybody that's ever been suckered into selling a pill, a potion, or a lotion, is because from the network marketing aspect, the main thing that they always tell you whenever you get talked into joining your new shiny ball, they say, hey, make a list of your closest 200 friends and family, and boom, that is your warm market. That is who you're going to talk to about joining your business. And when you first get into the industry, you're like, okay, yeah, that's not a problem, because the whole part of it is you need to talk to somebody or people that know, like, and trust you. That is the main portion of it. Well, whenever you first get started in a business also, you don't have a following, you don't know how to market, you don't know how to talk to people, you don't know how to get new leads, and you don't know how to handle rejection, you don't know how to get people, or you don't know how to close people or upsell them even if you do get leads. So like these are all major problems within the industry. Now, all of that aside, most network marketing companies, they're going to have an auto ship. And if you don't know what an auto ship is, it's whatever their product is at an absolute minimum, you have to order that on a monthly basis. Well, the good and the bad part about an auto ship is that's what makes up your passive income and residual income when you start to build a team. But the problem with that also is that if the people that you wind up bringing into the business, if they're not capable of duplicating the results that you have, which I guarantee everybody on this call has seen, where you might be a master salesman, you might be the second coming of Grant Cardone, but the people that you bring on board can't do what you do. So they might stick it around for a couple weeks, couple months, but then they drop off. So the difference between a traditional standard network marketing MLM business and BitClub Network is that passive residual income is automatically built in. Now, Sean did touch on this. They did just do an update where they do actually have where you can turn the minimum repurchase amounts down to zero if you want. Do I recommend that? Absolutely not. And I don't give a shit about my passive income. I'm just talking about you, because when it comes to compounding, like Sean said, that is the eighth wonder of the world. So think of it as recycling your earnings. You buy a share in a pool, in a mining pool, and let's just say you want to play the 6-month to 12-month recycle game. Well, in that time period, you're going to recycle your earnings. So everything that you get and you earn from your mining shares that you've purchased are going to go back into the pool to purchase additional partial shares. And when that happens, the more shares you have, the more earnings you get. The more shares you have, the more earnings you get. So as that cycle continues, that's when the compound effect starts to take place. And that becomes really, really powerful after about 6 to 12 months. Now, what I was asking Sean about earlier is, and Sean, I'm going to turn it over to you in just a second, but I want to touch on something. So they did have a spreadsheet that was out where it was, and this is very speculative based, and it might be very hard for some of you guys to fathom, especially if you're on the call or if you're watching this replay, but it's very easy to calculate. So right now, Sean showed that the price of Bitcoin is around $4,400. So with that being said, if you had a founder's pool, which Sean will cover in a second, that's one share in all three of the pools. If you had that and you reinvested it 100% all the way out until 2019, And the reason that you're doing that is you're allowing those earnings to recycle and compound. But as 2019 hits and you start to pull out, or previous to them having the minimum repurchase amounts, if you turn those down to the minimums and you started pulling out that Bitcoin and just putting it in a secure wallet, not spending it, whatever, but just keeping it in a secure wallet. And with the price of Bitcoin speculatively, if it hit around $10,000 by the year 2020, which is the next halving event, every 4 years, Sean talked about 12.5 Bitcoin gets released every 10 minutes in a block. Well, in 2020, it's going to come down to 6.25. So what does that mean? Supply and demand, like what we were talking about a little bit ago. So if you have something that's going to become more rare and you still have more people that are getting involved, the supply is going to be going down and the demand is going to be going up. So with the price, whatever it winds up being around 2020, more than likely you can expect it to double shortly thereafter. Now, that's just my prediction. Don't quote me on that. I'll deny it in court all day long. But, I mean, like, no bullshit. With the price of Bitcoin and the amount of people that are getting involved with this turns into such a powerful asset. It's not even funny, because if you, the spreadsheet that I was talking about, starting from August, if you had a founders pool all the way up until 2019, and then you bumped all your stuff down to minimums and started pulling all that out, by 2020, the halving event, you would have roughly anywhere between, I believe it was like 150 to 180 Bitcoin. So if you just do the math on that, 180 Bitcoin, hey, let's even do it on the conservative end. So let's just do 150 Bitcoin times $20,000. Hey, $3 million doesn't suck. I'm just saying, off of a $3,500 investment, go ahead. You can tell me wherever else you could possibly do that. Don't worry, I'll wait.
Point.
So anyways, I mean, that's really the power of this, because not only are you purchasing a money printing machine that is doing the work for you, but I mean, you don't have to tell anybody about this. I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to tell anybody shit. That's phenomenal. Tell me another business where you can passively earn, especially another network marketing business, because you can't do it. It's not possible. But Sean, I'm gonna turn it over to you. I'm getting too excited, man. I'm gonna pick back up at the end.
I love the excitement. But that's what's great. That's what's great. And a lot of people won't understand that. It's like, hey, there's no auto ship, there's no product to purchase. So how can these payments come? Well, once you understand that we're producing Bitcoin with the work of the computer and the energy, okay, so that's how the model works. This new Bitcoin is coming to circulation. We're paying the members with those new Bitcoin, and that's going to also create residual commissions for you. People that want to build the business, people that want to share it with friends, family, or other people that want to get involved, you're going to secure a residual income, because I'll show you my earnings in the back office and what I'm doing with them right now. So these shares I purchased roughly around June. Okay, so I bought my mining pool shares in June, and I've earned 0.4. So I'm almost halfway to a Bitcoin in passive earnings. So this is without talking to anybody about the business. This is completely passive. This is from the new Bitcoin that I showed you that we're mining every single day, that's going into this wallet. And I'm getting a little piece of those Bitcoin every single day, because BitClub Network pays every 24 hours into my wallet. Now right now I've got my shares set to 100% reinvestment. So I'm not taking out that money for myself. I'm actually reinvesting it into more shares. So now I've got 1.5 shares in pool 1, 1 1/3 in pool 2, and 1.36 in pool 3. So that means with more shares, I get a bigger piece of the payout amongst all the other members. So if you started today with 1 share, my daily payout would be slightly higher than yours, because you started with just 1 share like I did a few months ago. And another reason why you wouldn't want to 100% withdraw is because eventually you will run out of new shares, right? Because a share only pays for 1,000 days. So if you set these to 0, eventually you're going to run out of shares. So your daily payouts are just going to go to 0. So unless you've actually built the business, you're going to stop getting paid. So you definitely don't I don't recommend anyone going to 0%. So if everyone keeps it at 100 for a couple months, compounds their earnings, and then decides, you know what, now I want to start withdrawing for myself. Well, even if you set it to say 70%, you're still going to get that residual from your members, because they'll be compounding their earnings, still buying new shares, and that'll create a residual income for you, because these Bitcoin that are used to buy partial shares, will part of those Bitcoin are used to go back into equipment, and another part goes back to paying those commissions, from the commission side of the business. So it's great. We don't need new members to join Big Club Network. We can just use those brand new Bitcoin coming in to not only sustain and grow the pool, but also keep the members paid. And we can do this indefinitely. I mean, Bitcoin mining is going to be around till the year 2140, when all 21 million Bitcoin have been mined. And even then, there's still going to be miners involved into securing the blockchain. And by then, even though there's no new block reward, there's going to be so many users using it, hopefully, that there'll be enough transaction fees in a block to cover the operating costs. So, and there's so many other things you can introduce on the blockchain. When you start doing some research, we're talking about doing votes. We're talking about putting titles to land. So this is programmable money. It doesn't need to be used. A blockchain does not only need to be used to transfer value on a ledger. You can actually program that value to mean something, like an identity or a vote in an election. And so when people start using blockchains to do that kind of stuff, well, those transactions will need to be verified. And who's verifying and securing the blockchains? The miners are. So there's always going to be an incentive to run your hardware and secure the blockchain. So we're going to be part of that, which is very exciting. So there's a lot more applications coming outside of Bitcoin. And when you start looking into that, you're going to see that, hey, I need to be part of the miners. The miners, you don't have to do this yourself. It's not like you're putting this in your basement and doing it. So that's so in terms of team building now. So we're going to cover for the last couple minutes of this webinar, we'll just cover what's in it for you to bring in new people. So why would you want to talk this to your friends and family? Well, I mean, bringing in new people not only grows our network. When CoinPay comes out, we'll have more people around the world to talk about CoinPay. We've got more money to buy more mining shares. That's how it's grown, right? You need new people, but you don't at the same time, right? I don't want to make it sound like we need new people because we're making a lot of money through those new Bitcoin, but we want to be the biggest distribution network on the planet when it comes to Bitcoin and Bitcoin related services. So there is a compensation plan for building this business. And for those that are not too familiar with these terms, it might be over your head a little bit. So be sure to reach out to us after and we'll cover it. So it's basically what's called a 2x2 binary. So when you enroll somebody into your team, you're going to have a left team and a right team. So you're basically just placing people either on your left or your right. And when they buy mining pool shares, it's worth a certain amount of credits. So for every $500 share that they buy in mining pool 1, you'll receive 3 credits. For every $1,000 full share that they buy, you'll get 6 credits. And for every $2,000 share that they buy, you'll get 12. And so as your right team starts buying shares and your left team starts buying shares, well, every time you have 15 credits on both sides of your team, well, that's going to award you a $200 cycle is what we call it. So it's a $200 bonus paid in Bitcoin, and that can happen 4 times a day. So if you sponsor a few people and then they start sponsoring some people, it kind of grows right underneath you as your team grows. And as your team starts buying their shares, you'll get rewarded through these cycle bonuses. Oops. Is there any questions in the chat? I see it's blinking.
Yeah, Dave was asking, he said, I thought the shares were perpetual. If you keep on 100%, he believed that he was told that, but he was maybe misunderstanding. So the way it works, Dave, is whenever you purchase your share, you have a 1,000-day mining contract. Now, with that mining contract, as you can see with Sean's, if he scrolls down, as soon as he has enough earnings that he's received from that pool, it's going to go ahead and purchase a new partial share. So you'll see the 0.0263, and then boom, that one starts a new 1,000-day. So essentially, with every new partial share that you buy, eventually you're going to have another full share, and then you're going to have another full share. And each one of those new partial shares is another 1,000-day contract. So realistically, as long as you don't have your mining pool earnings at 0, then you're never going to run out of mining pool shares. Now, if you turn it down to zero and you wait an entire 1,000 days, obviously you're not going to have, shit left.
They'll just run out of steam.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to buy a pool again, which that's not very smart math to me. But I mean, you're in control of your own destiny per se. So I mean, you can do whatever you want. But I mean, the easiest way for me to look at this is an investment. This isn't like, hey, this is going to be my dinner money tomorrow night. So if you don't need this money, then don't touch it. I mean, do you touch your 401k other than maybe moving it around if you have one? Or just leave it alone and let it build. And once you start to see this thing start to take off and then you start to watch the price of Bitcoin, I mean, I was doing dances when it jumped over $5,000. I mean, happier than shit. I mean, just imagine when it hits $10,000, you're going to be like, ooh, I got some more shares in there. Yeah. And God forbid if you started already to withdraw. I mean, so it's just one of those things. Just it's set it and forget it. So yeah, Dave, exactly. Sit. So hopefully that answers your question, buddy.
Yeah, we should be sitting on our shares for at least a year. 2019 is a good year because we want to start withdrawing some Bitcoin for ourselves because of that halving event. So anyone listening to this call, there's strategy behind what we're doing because we know what's going on the network. So in 2020, the new supply of Bitcoin is going to have the demand is just increasing daily. When you start looking at the CoinDesk and you start waking up to what's going on in the world, you're going to see the demand is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. More people are getting involved in Bitcoin. Developers, people are creating APIs on the blockchain. People are just investing more money into mining pools, exchanges, wallets, just making it easy for people to use. So that's just going to cause more adoption, more people using it. So that's what's going to cause the price to go up because there's only 21 million Bitcoin. If you own one Bitcoin right now, I suggest you put it aside and you forget about it. You put it under your mattress. You never touch that Bitcoin because there's 7.5 billion people on the planet, guys. Anything that's scarce has value if people want to use it. So users of Bitcoin in 10 years are going to be using Bitcoin, but we'll be using millibits of Bitcoin, right? It's divisible into 8 decimal places. So people will be exchanging their currency for Bitcoin and they'll be getting fractions of Bitcoin to be able to buy and sell their services that they want. But no one's going to own, not a lot of people are going to have one whole Bitcoin somewhere, right? So this is why it's great to be early and to know about it before the masses. So you want to get some of that asset. So why are we investing in BitClub Network? Because we don't want to just sit on one Bitcoin. We want to grow that Bitcoin to 2 or 3 or 4 passively over the next couple of years. And then we want a residual in Bitcoin. We want to be paid in Bitcoin every single day because Bitcoin, if it's worth $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, those little payments you're going to be making every day are going to be worth good money. And it's going to be residual because you're part of the mining pool. So if you think long-term, 3-4 years from now, heck, it's like 2020 is just around the corner. So if you're investing in BitClub Network, it's not to make money tomorrow. This is a long-term plan that eventually you could give off to your kids. Bitcoin is still around. I mean, miners are going to be needed as long as Bitcoin is around, and there's no sign that Bitcoin is going anywhere. Pandora's box is open. Cryptocurrencies are here to stay. Don't let governments or banks or the FUD that we call scare you off. It's not going anywhere. There might be some regulations or some laws that are going to slow down innovation. I covered that in the beginning. You just need to sit back, sit tight, collect the asset, and see where it goes. And help the asset by promoting it, right? Talk about it with your friends. Show them how to create wallets. Show them how to get it from exchanges. This is what we're doing right now on this call. We're doing our part to grow the economy. If more people start using Bitcoin, we're all winners, right? Because the adoption goes up, the price goes up. So this is a great company because it's a win-win. You actually have a say in if Bitcoin. It's a small say, but you do have a voice in Bitcoin's success, right? So it's a great way to get involved in the ecosystem. So a little bit more about the compensation plan. I mean, guys, these numbers, I don't even know these by heart. I mean, if you are in the business and you sponsor somebody and they buy a share, if you want to know how much you get paid, you just kind of refer to this table. The first 2 people that you sponsor into the company, you get a 5% bonus on their purchase. So if they buy a $3,500 founder's position, you get 5%. And then the more people that you sponsor, you get a little bit more. So like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th person that you sponsor, you'll get a 6% bonus on their purchases. It's great. And you'll also get a 1% commission off of their first 2 personally sponsored people. So these aren't things that you really need to memorize. You just have to refer to these tables. Your team 3 will be your 6th, 7th, and 8th person that you personally sponsor into the company. You'll get 7% off their purchases, and you'll get a 2% cut off their first 2 personally sponsored people. And your level 4 is everybody after your 8th. So if you start sponsoring more than 8 people, everyone after 8, you'll get an 8% cut off their initial purchases, and you'll get a 2% cut off of their first 2 personally sponsored people. And it goes even a little bit deeper too. You'll get a 1% cut on their team 4 as well. So you don't really need to kind of memorize this. You just refer to this table, and it's all done automatically. So by bringing in people into the business, you'll actually get some commission. So it's actually worth your time, spreading the word about Big Club Network. And the same thing happens with the repurchases. So every time your members will be repurchasing from those new Bitcoin that get mined from the company, you'll get a small commission as well. So your level 1, you'll get a 10% commission off of their repurchases. If they're repurchasing every 5 to 10 days, it's a small amount, you'll get a few dollars. So let me just show you my back office here, just to give you an idea. Once you start building a team, it's actually pretty interesting because you get these little micro payments. Let's go to page 2 here. So they're small payments. Like, look, I got my team 4 is everyone after 9, right? So I got an 18% commission from the repurchase of this member here. So it's $4. 12% commission from their repurchase. It's $3. 2% commission from this member here. That was a big purchase, right? That's why it's $70 because that was a full mining share. But these little $2, $1 here, $1 there, these are all commissions that are generated from the new Bitcoin that's mined. So Big Club Network will pay you very well because members will be joining. They'll be buying their shares. You'll get an initial commission. And then all that new Bitcoin that we mine will be distributed to the members. A portion of that new Bitcoin will go back into the business, which will generate a commission for you and will help the pool grow. And the other portion of it will go to the member based on the percentages. So it's really, there's no other opportunity out there like this. I mean, we're not selling pills, like Jake said. We're not selling weight loss products. We're not selling products that are going to sit on a shelf that are going to expire. We're selling mining pool hardware that's going to be hooked up in a facility in Iceland that's going to be producing an asset that's growing in value every day, and it's going to go up in value. And we're getting paid in every single day. So that's why you should be excited about being in the business and growing this business because if you put in the work, it'll just pay you very well.
Hey, buddy, do me a favor and go back over to the rank advancement side. I'm going to make it very, very cut and dry and like no bullshit for this. So the reality of the way that the comp plan works is you don't need to worry about it. You need to get 5 people, and then out of those 5 people, you need to help them get 2 people each. Now, what that's going to do, this is not like a normal traditional network marketing business where you want to try to build out as many people on your personal direct team as possible. With this, you want to start focusing more on rank advancement. And the reason that that's important is you can see that on Sean's, he makes probably $100 a day, a couple times a month from doing nothing. The majority of the people on my team wind up hitting his team 4, which is, additional little micro payments like you guys just saw. That you still get commissions off of you helping your team grow and get to the next level. That's the biggest part of it. So what you need to focus on, you can see like right here, to hit miner, you need to get activated, which is the $99, and you need to buy at least 1 share. Minimum to get in is $500 for 1 share. Now, if you got some more money than that, hell yeah, I recommend coming in higher than that. Why wouldn't I? And it's not just to benefit anybody on the team, it's to benefit you. Because like we were talking about earlier, normal traditional network marketing business, you have to buy shit every month. You have an auto ship. This, you pay one time and that's it. And then you continue to get those profits every month. Now, to get to the next builder requirement, you can see that Sean's already hit builder. You have to at least hit miner status. That's complete. You have to have $10,000 in your total tree enrollment volume. That's very easy to hit once you start sharing this opportunity. You have to sponsor 5 miners. So sponsoring 5 miners, this is where, okay, so once you get your 5, if you have more people that are interested, start passing them off to the people that are actively attempting to build the business. And, you know, there's a phenomenal saying that I stole from Steven that he probably stole from somebody else that I'm going to completely plagiarize tonight. Walk with the walkers and run with the runners. I mean, there's going to be some people in here that they might get activated and they'll never purchase a share. That's fine. Okay, move on to the next person, because I guarantee you're going to come across somebody like I did that wound up buying 4 founders pools in one day. 4 founders pools. And then there's other people on the call, I'm not going to name names, but they have people that came in with 7 founders pools. I mean, this is powerful. And once you share this opportunity with somebody and they see the vision, like other than explaining what it is and what we just talked about, if they don't see it, next. I mean, you don't spend your time trying to convince somebody. It's that simple. So what happens is after you get your 5, you want to help them each get 2 miners sponsored. Well, this kind of starts to come into one of the strategies that Sean and I teach. So I don't know if you showed your binary earlier.
It's offline right now.
Okay. So the binary, the way that it works is you're going to be placed on top as soon as you activate your account and your sponsor, put your name wherever on the tree. So as soon as that happens, we always recommend, if it's financially feasible for you, to get 2 additional positions. So what that's going to do is going to have you on top, and you're going to have you directly below you on the right and directly below you on the left. Yeah, exactly like Sean's doing. So what this is going to wind up doing is this potentially gives you 2 miners directly below you, if you can fund it. But I mean, I started this business. I was only able to fund my account and get it activated with $99 5 months ago. And I didn't buy my first share until a month and a half later. But as soon as you activate your account, you can start to build the business. I had 4 people signed up before I even had my first share. That's the beauty of it. Most businesses traditionally outside of this, if you're not bought in at a certain level and somebody else below you that you bring into the company buys that level, that commission skips you and goes to somebody above you. Well, the beautiful part about this is all of those commissions are held. So Sean's actually about to show you right now. Obviously, he's a founder, but you can see right there. So they have a commissions held section. So if you come in and you're motivated to build this business and you just don't have the funds, that's fine. Build this business, because every single thing that you earn is going to be held right there until you buy that share in that pool. I still don't have my 3rd share. But I'm not worried about it, because I'm probably going to get damn near half a Bitcoin once I do wind up releasing it. But that's the cool part about it. So, I mean, this company is definitely involved with trying to help the average person build this business. I mean, you don't have to have $400,000 to become a millionaire with this. Now, and once again, little disclaimer, I'm not saying that you're going to become a millionaire by being in this business. But, I mean, it's absolutely powerful. So going back to the diagram that Sean had, what that does is whenever you create 3 accounts, that basically makes your account, and then you have 2 miners automatically signed up from Jump Street. So if you go back to the rank advancement, you have to have 5 miners with 2 miners on each of them. Well, if you talk to 5 people and share this same strategy, just from those 5 people and getting that one or those 2 additional accounts, boom, you've hit builder status. And if they were taught to do that when they come into the business, they're going to teach their people to do the same thing. And boom, they hit builder status. And then if you are a massive recruiter and you just have a great following, do what I did. Sean passed 2 people off to me. I've passed 2 people off to my team, because that's how you build this business. Just like in network marketing, if you have people that aren't capable of doing what you're capable of doing, then they're going to drop off. Well, in this business, you don't have to worry about that. But at the same point in time, if one person's eating and everybody else is trying to build this business, why not help them out? Because all you're going to do is help yourself too. It just makes too much sense. So that's my little spiel on kind of our comp plan and the strategy, and really what we're trying to do. Once you hit 5, help your team out, help them get their 5, and then they're going to help their team get their 5. And I mean, it's just a repetitive process. And through that, we're all going to have a shit ton of Bitcoin. I mean, that's really what it turns out being. And I mean, if you don't like Bitcoin, then I don't know how you've made it this far into the call. And we probably can't be friends after this. But other than that, that's pretty much all I got.
Thanks, bud. Yeah, we'll cut it at that. It's been about an hour and 20 minutes. Just like to end with some pictures of the pool, guys. I mean, when you do your research, if you're still researching companies out there that say they're mining Bitcoin, just do your due diligence. Bitcoin mining is very transparent. I've shown you the blockchain.info website. You're going to have the company's website. You're going to have to look up the owners. You're going to have to look at their track record. So things you can look out for are, does it actually exist? So here's a website where we have some photos from a recent trip here this year. Some of the members visited the pool in Iceland. So I got some photos here I can share. These are the members here in Iceland. And here they are visiting the mining pool. So these are the equipment in the racks that are mining the Bitcoin. So that's something that I just wanted to share on this call too for you guys to see. And just know that there's no insane returns here. There's no ROI. There's no banking terms anywhere on this website. There's the updates that I highly recommend you guys read. If you're just learning about the business, just create a free account under your sponsor, whoever invited you to watch this video today. And then once you're in your back office, click on the updates. Here they are. I encourage you to read all of them since 2014 so you can see how transparent the business has been and how they've grown and their plans for the future to turn Bit Club Network into the biggest distribution network of Bitcoin and Bitcoin-related services. We've got plans for our own Club Coin to gain value. So another cryptocurrency on the market that currently has value that's being traded on the open market. How are we going to get value and a demand for this coin? There's a strategy for that coming. It's being implemented. What are you going to do with these mining pool earnings? It's great. There's so much. So we've covered a lot on this call. We'll open the floor for some questions and we'll cut it at that for tonight. So I want to thank you guys for sticking to the end.
Hey, Dave, I saw that you posted a question. You said, what is cloud mining? So basically what we're doing with Bit Club Network is a version of cloud mining. The difference is they are 110% transparent. I actually got involved many, many months ago, like almost a year ago, with a random business that I came across that said they were cloud mining. I wasn't familiar with Bit Club Network prior to, and I kind of lost my ass. What you always want to look for if you're looking at a business, even if it's outside of Bit Club Network, you want to make sure they're transparent. You want to make sure that you can actually see proof of any mining earnings or mining rewards that they get. And outside of this, there's like one other mining business, maybe two, that I would, and I'm not going to mention names right now, but there's really not very many other ones that I would even halfway look at. Because a lot of those cloud minings businesses out there, those are legit Ponzi schemes. They say that, oh yeah, if they're guaranteeing you like a fixed rate based on whatever, there's nothing guaranteed when it comes to Bitcoin mining. Because as Sean showed you earlier, there's a lot of luck involved. There's a lot of guesses, and there's a computing power has a lot to do with it. And that's one of the differences between being in a mining pool versus doing it by yourself. I mean, you can maybe have a chance to solve one equation, or you can have a couple 100 million computers solving twice as many equations just because they're able to throw more guesses at it. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, awesome. And just one other thing that I wanted to touch on, guys. I know myself, if you got invited here by any of my links or videos or emails or whatever the case, do not sign up with any of the links that I have across the board. Reach out to me first, because I do have a couple people on my team that I'm trying to put other people under. So let me know first so I can strategically try to place you guys on the binary and help some of the other guys and girls that are on the team and get them situated as well. I'm, like I said, in my posts and everywhere else inside the Millionaire Mindset group, I've hit my 5, so I'm really not too worried about personal signups anymore. It's really all about trying to help the team hit their 5 and help them rank advance too. And I know Sean's already a builder. Renee, she's going to be very close behind me. So, we're going to have a lot of people on our team that are in the same exact spot. Well, if nobody else has any questions, we appreciate the hell out of you guys hopping on. This was a really long one tonight, but it was an abundance of information. And Sean, as always, you did a phenomenal job explaining the nuts and bolts of everything. And I'm sure I probably got on some people's nerves, but hey, that's who I am. So if you guys have any questions, make sure you get back with whoever invited you here. If they have a link, check it out. But also, like I said, reach out to them first. They might have a similar situation in place where they're trying to position you strategically on their team. So great call tonight, guys, and glad everybody came out.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, guys.